So it's been a busy day. Karate in the morning, paintballing in the afternoon. Now I need to get to this. Most of it's done. If you've been following Instagram, you know that I had a malfunction, or a failure more correctly put. The lift blocks that came with the Rancho 4-inch lift that came with this truck, meaning the lift was on the truck when I bought it, the lift blocks failed on me last time I tried to go up into the mountains. And that was kind of scary. Luckily it happened at a low enough speed. But my life being as busy it is, I don't have time to deal with it. Not only that, I'm fighting a back injury, so this is not much of a how-to. It's just, hey, here's what's done. I have one small part I do need to install in here on both sides. But what I did was hit a whole bunch of ORD's parts. So you can see the nice shiny U-bolts, so you can tell if you know GMs well enough, I've done a U-bolt flip kit, meaning there's way less to drag down on the underside of this truck. And that gives a little bit more clearance that way, but it also gets rid of those little rust pocket factory style U-bolts that point downwards. The other thing, let's get the light. The other thing you see installed is the shackle flip kit and the heavy duty shackles from ORD, so those are in. So that's several pieces of equipment upgrade that also will lift your truck, because you're reversing the shackles from going up or now going down. So all of that together gives it about a 4-inch lift, which matches what was done to the front with the Rancho parts, without a lift block, with a better set of U-bolts. Everything's much improved. My truck happens to be one of the ones that you notice up there it's welded in, so everything had to be welded. A lot of the trucks you'll be able to do a straight bolt in one if you can do it, but since mine was not, we just went and zapped it in there permanently. And I would have done that anyway, probably. I probably would have, if the bolt holes had actually lined up. As it was, you can almost see there's one bolt in there. So we used that bolt to locate, and the other ones were just plug welded in there. And by we, I mean the boys at Big O. And they took care of all this for me. One, I don't have the time in life, and two, I'm injured, so not exactly something I'm going to pull off on my own right now. But this has been on my list for a long time, and what forced me to finally do it was a failure of the lift blocks. So what do I have left? If you look in there and you see those factory bump stops, I don't think those are going to stop much of anything before you start having some clanging of metal on metal. So that's what I intend to fix right now. I've got some extended ones. Funny enough, this is another one of those parts boxes that's been sitting on my workbench for quite some time. Been meaning to get to it. Well, let's get to it now. Skyjacker universal 4-inch bump stop extensions. Big heavy duty polyurethane things. They're a little flexible. Under the pressures the truck will put on them, they'll definitely flex enough, but instead of that factory rubber stuff. And these are universal, which means bolt going through, so I think I may have to play some games to actually get these to work. We'll see. I'm going to get the old ones off, and then we'll see what we can do with these ones. If I'm lucky, they just bolt right on, but I may have to make a decent sized washer plate. We'll see. This will be fun. Tire's still wet from driving out. It's somewhat snowy out there. Basic February day, but if you... let's get some light in here. If you look, you've got these rubber... They're kind of pressed in, basically. I don't know. Oh, look how nasty those are. You know what that all is? That's just undercoating and bed liner and everything I've used to coat this over the years. But I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get them out. Could just slice this off and be done with it. It's interesting for being this old. They're pretty hardened. They're pretty hardened, and not much indentation down on the bottom. So I don't think there's been any real impacts with them. And who knows how long this truck is lifted before I got it, so there may never been real impacts with this bump stop anyway. I might just get a chisel and cut through this thing and just drop them down and see what kind of hole on it. See a little bit of hole there. I would guess that's how they start them in. Don't know if maybe you can press them down that way too. Maybe. Since I don't care about these, I think cutting them off is going to be the easiest way. So I'm going to get some cutting tools. Yeah, this chisel is sharp. So I just cut through the rubber. Yep, just like that. I'm going to have to sharpen this chisel when it's done because I just chunked it pretty good. Boom. It's out. Now, I like this. I was thinking about having to do something. All I need is a washer because that's about the size of the bolt I'm going to be using. So that should be okay. Should be able to get it done. Alright, let's check that out now. Of course, it occurs to me while I'm looking at this, I can just rotate down and you can see those top plates from ORD. And you see there's a slot. I think I can move the axle back, which is kind of important because it has moved the axle forward. So I may go to those guys, have it put it on the lift, and have them move the axle back, centered in the wheels. The only thing I'd be worried about is how much stretch I can get with the drive shaft I've got. Because the center pin does give you some room there to do that. We'll see. But yeah, nice big beefy. I mean, that's over 1/4 inch. That's got to be your 3/8 inch plate there that they've used. And I love the oversized nuts that come on those too. Alright, let's get those other ones bolted in. It's a tight fit for me and it. What I'm looking at is how much clearance I have between it and the exhaust too. I want to keep it off of the exhaust. Still want that to engage. I think it'll do fine. Question being, can I get this to grab threads? Seems like this is the ideal way to do it. I wonder if I need to be under the truck. Just to start threads, then I'll be able to crank it down. Let's see. Yeah, got the threads to grab. Sucking it in. I think the plate, the plate on these, it's molded with them, is a bit too wide to sit in this factory one perfectly. But I think we can tighten it down enough that if we get a couple threads shown to the top of that lock washer, it won't go anywhere. And it'll do its job of bump stopping that axle. Couple threads to the top. It's there, and it sits right above that plate right there, which is what it's going to contact. So we should be all right. Just thinking to move this back, they have to flip the plate to move it that way. But either way, I may or may not worry about that because later this year I'll be doing the actual solid axle swap, and that means I need to drop that whole bracket, which will swing it back, and it'll be back where it wanted to be and needs to be anyway. Alright, let's go to the other side. So my guess is, yeah, since I just cut that off, that you have that T-slot cut into the bracket for it, and you would have to slip that in and through. And I bet that would take some beating with a hammer to get it to fully seat in there. But these are, yeah, they're fairly hard with age. It was what, a 1998, and so it's about a 22, 23-year-old truck. Alright, other side. Here's what I'm talking about with the plates that are molded into it. It's like they're galvanized dipped. And these are polyurethane, but yeah. If you wanted to, you could take the time to slice off a little bit on each side and make them fit perfectly in there, but for what they are, I don't care. I'll jam fit them up in there against that bracket, bolt them down so I've got enough threads on the lock nut. It'll be good to go. Alright, there it is. 2 extended bump stops, universal types from Skyjacker. It's funny as I back out and I look, and I've probably coated this frame 3 times since I bought the truck back in 2014. And I've never seen a coating really fully last forever. So obviously during the spring, you need to come in and scrape a bunch of this stuff off and go after it. The only thing I can say that we're lucky with here, yeah, we use salt, and I live next to the Great Salt Lake, and there's salt all over these roads. But what saves us versus your Midwestern boys that'll have frames destroyed is quite simply it's not humid here. It's nice and dry here, so in Utah it's a dry heat. So that way we don't get the humidity that just compounds the whole problem of the salt on the roads and kills your trucks. I mean, generally speaking, everything's still very, very solid down here. This is all cosmetic. I'll scrape it off, recoat it sometime in the spring. A lot of that will probably spray off with a power washer. But yeah, always, every time I'm looking at stuff, every time I'm doing stuff, if I find other things I need to do. But there's your 4-inch universal Skyjackers. Bunch of ORD pretty parts. I'm glad to have them now. The shackles. I was kind of looking at the springs, and it does, you can't see on that angle, but it does make the springs a little flatter than they used to be in comparison to where the truck rides. I don't know. And still say there's room to take these and do the reversal on those. On the front eye hanger, you reverse that, drop that, and you can still use the stock springs to get lift. Right now what I've done is 4 inches of lift. Doing that would be another 2 to 4, depending on what you do. We'll see when we get into it and we actually start swapping the front, because I want to do as much as I can using just stock parts. Alright, that's that. You can see that pretty red stuff under there now. Nice polyurethane with a whole lot more absorption ability than just those rubber blocks. And the RD parts, if you know how to play with an axle, that's really not that hard. You can see what it is. Just U-bolts that show face upward with a nice new plate that they provide. The hangers, depending on what truck you've got, if the lighting's any good here, you can see there's one bolt in, everything else is all welded. The heavy duty shackles look like a nice piece of equipment too. Greasable bolts, so I can keep things from getting squeaky. So this should be nice. It should take care of the truck a lot better than those lift blocks ever did. Little tiny parts like this, they're the ones that seem to make the difference a lot of times. Okay, if you come this far, appreciate you watching. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.